Ever since I was a kid, I've saved all the money that I've gotten for my birthday and for holidays so I could go on an adventure. I called it my adventure fund. It took until I was 27 years old to use that adventure fund, and this is that story. My travel partners are my fiance Danny, my podcast partner Robbie, and his fiance Erin, and we spent a long time trying to get her that mug. And this is the car that will take us 2,000 miles around Canada. We played some Tetris to fit our stuff in it, and then we headed up north. Robbie picked the wrong line once we got to the border, so it took a little bit longer than we planned, but we definitely didn't smuggle anything into Canada, and then we were on our way up to Vancouver. How do you feel about being in Canada, Danny?
Well, I'm perspiring heavily. And I feel happy that we're here, and I don't really want to go back.
When we arrived in Vancouver, we were going to stop at the Capilano Suspension Bridge, but they wanted us to pay money, and we didn't want to do that, so we stopped at Lynn Canyon Park instead. After the park, we checked into the hotel, ate some chocolate cookies, had some dinner at Noodle Box, and then we explored downtown Vancouver. Day 2 started with a drive to the ferry terminal. Robbie and Erin caught some Pokemon, and then we boarded a ferry to Victoria on Vancouver Island. Upon arriving on Vancouver Island, our first stop was the beautiful Butchart Gardens. We're here at the Butchart Gardens, where there is flowers probably, and most importantly, I think there's ice cream. I was right. Robbie, how you feeling? Excited. That's all you got for me?
Really excited.
After leaving the gardens, we embarked on our biggest adventure thus far on the journey, and that was getting gas.
Canadian gas. $146 for one of these bad boys.
After trips to 3 different pumps and the clerk inside, we were finally able to fill up the car with Canadian gasoline.
We did it. That was the true definition of an American looking very dumb in another country.
After getting gas, we drove into downtown Victoria and ate lunch at the restaurant with the best name in the city. The Sticky Wicket Pub.
It's a dream come true.
After walking around Victoria for a while, we did what one does when in Victoria and stopped for desserts and high tea.
Yeah.
Having accomplished all that we had set out to do in Victoria, we boarded the ferry back to Vancouver. All these people are looking at whales. If you had to describe Victoria in 3 words, what 3 words would you use?
Flowery, fishy, fun.
Tasty perfume. Sunshine.
Thrilling, decadent, beautiful.
We started off day 3 by crossing Tim Hortons off of our Canada checklist. Some people needed some coffee for the long drive. Day 3, on the road. Who's excited for a 9-hour drive?
Woo!
Not Erin.
It's only 8 hours and 15 minutes.
There was a point during our long drive that the speed in which we were moving was deemed too fast by Canadian law enforcement. So they kindly pulled us over, requested that we slow down, and gave us a sneak ticket as a souvenir. You want to tell the people what we're doing?
We're headed down Milwaukee Canyon. So we can. Chipmunk!
As she was saying, once we arrived in Jasper National Park, we hiked down Malign Canyon to look at all the waterfalls and the bridges. Day 3 ended with our first night of camping, making quesadillas over the fire. Day 4 was packed with a lot of different stuff. We started off at Malign Lake.
We saw the Canada bears.
We saw a bear.
Checking it off the list. Saw a bear. What day are we on? Day 4?
Day 4. We're at Malign Lake.
How are you feeling?
Alberta, Canada. We saw a bear, and I'm
did see
just
a
now
bear.
coming down.
And what are your thoughts on the lake so far?
I think it's beautiful. I just wish that there wasn't wildfire smoke in the way. Take a look, peeps.
After leaving Malign Lake, we made a quick stop at Athabasca Falls. Then we continued making our way towards Banff with a quick stop over at a glacier. And then the trip continued as we made our way towards Peyto Lake. If Peyto Lake was a grocery food, what food would it be?
A grocery food?
Kool-Aid.
What is the most breathtaking food in a grocery store? A pepper. A hot pepper. It was hot.
I thought it was like a spicy
Because of-
meatball.
Spicy meatball. Peyto Lake was our last stop before making our way to Lake Louise and Moraine Lake, which were two of the spots that I was most looking forward to on the trip.
This heavyweight champion. Knock me out and I can hear the bear.
Day 5 was another day for us to explore Banff, so we drove into town, had some breakfast, and decided to hike Johnston Canyon, or Canyon Johnston in French. After the hike, we decided to visit the Cave and Basin National Historic Site, the birthplace of Canadian national parks. And we finished off the day with a dip in the hot springs and some beaver tails, because we were in Canada after all. This is our last day in Canada. Super bummed that the trip is coming to an end. We don't really want to go back, trying to figure out a way that we can stay in Canada if we want to. But we're going to be heading down to Calgary for a little bit to grab some lunch and then some poutine. And then from there we'll be heading down to Idaho and back into the States and on our way back home. Calgary, we ate lunch at this place that had popcorn on their milkshakes and donuts for buns on their hamburgers. So, of course, we ate everything. So one of the last things on our Canada checklist was to get poutine. We're in Calgary here, about to go back to the States, and so we had to make sure we had one more stop at poutine. So we're at the Big Cheese, got some maple poutine. How does everybody feel about being back in America?
But we smuggled into that.
You can't admit to it.
You can't on the internet. We spent a lot of time on the road on this trip, like almost 40 hours of time. And you would think after all that time in a Toyota Corolla that we would hate each other. But in reality, this was one of my favorite trips I've ever been on. I was worried at the start of the trip that it wouldn't live up to my expectations, that the adventure I was saving for wouldn't compare to my childhood dreams. The truth is, it didn't compare. There is no way my 11-year-old self could have imagined how beautiful Moraine Lake looked in person, or how delicious instant ramen can taste when made with a pocket stove at your campsite after a full day of traveling. So it didn't compare to my childhood expectations. It may have been better. Adventure fun well spent.